Hi, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing one of my former accounting students from Santa Monica College, Kazushiro Aiba, who goes by Kaz. So Kaz actually took both my Principles of Accounting 1 and my Principles of Accounting 2 class at Santa Monica College many, many years ago. As I recall, he took my Principles of Accounting 1 online class in the summer of 2007. And then afterwards, he finished up with Principles of Accounting 2 in spring 2008. So it's been many, many years ago. So it's a pleasure seeing Kaz again. After he finished taking classes at Santa Monica College, he transferred to his dream school, which is USC, University of Southern California. And there he studied accounting. In 2 years, he finished. He then got an internship at the prestigious global CPA firm, Ernst and Young. He interned in their New York office. And so when he graduated from USC, he worked in their New York office for several years in their assurance practice. And then he was able to transfer back to Los Angeles to work in assurance at their Los Angeles office. Today, he still continues to work at Ernst and Young, and he's a senior manager in their assurance services group. So although I was going to mention, Kaz, you've had a wonderful accounting career. What's really fascinating about you is that you had a non-traditional path. You're originally from Japan. And so after you finished high school, instead of going to college, you decided to go tour in a rock band for several years.
Yep.
You mentioned before, 5 years. You toured in a rock band. And then I guess you got it out of your system at some point, and you decided to come to the United States to study, and then that's how you landed in Santa Monica College, and then ultimately USC. So Kaz, it's a great pleasure to reconnect with you after so many years. Thanks for speaking to my students, to share your story and also to inspire them to become future accountants as well. So thank you very much. And if you don't mind, I would like to start with some questions I have prepared in advance for you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
the first question I have is, I mentioned before that you used to play in a rock band immediately out of high school.
Yep.
So can you briefly talk about, you were there, I think you said you were there about for 5 years after high school. Can you briefly talk about your time in the rock band, and ultimately what made you decide to leave the rock band and come to the United States to pursue your educational path?
Okay, sure. So I just loved singing when I was a kid, and when I was in a band, of course we did a show with a bunch of audience, and it was just so great feeling to just sing in front of people and feel the one united like energy. So I decided to pursue my career as a singer after high school, and I tried to find a bunch of players, and it took like there were trials and errors. There are a bunch of like people who were not so great or so great, right? Ultimately, we found good people, and then we started writing songs, and also we released the self-made CDs and did a bunch of shows here and there. It was fun and it was a great experience, and then we did succeed to some extent, but ultimately we figured we are not good enough to be successful professional musicians, because we've got some like feedbacks here and there, and like there's some like obstacles, of course it takes money too. So we decided to disband, and ultimately we quit. And after that, I was actually kind of lost for a little period of time, as to like what to do. And then I watched TV, that shows a bunch of classrooms in US colleges, and then there are a bunch of people who are tend to be a little older, like mid-20s, early 30s, something like that, in a class. So I feel like, oh, I still can learn something to do something else other than music. So I decided to just come to United States, and California was my favorite state, from just what I knew. So I just decided to come to Santa Monica. It was close to the beach, and I took accounting 1 in summer 2007, like Min said, and it was just like click, like the debit and credit. That was just a magic for me. Like all transactions can be explained logically. That was the thing. And so the US college it was, I don't know, to me, I just wanted to study business. And then I knew the business schools are very popular in the United States. So I didn't think much, but I just felt, coming to the United States could give me something, some opportunities. That was the reason to choose to come to the United States.
Well, great. I'm glad you did come to the U.S. And um, my next question was,
Yeah.
so when you first studied at Santa Monica College, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure as an international student, you encountered some challenges,
Yeah.
right? I was curious, what were some of the challenges you encountered? I should have asked this. What were some of the challenges you encountered at Santa Monica College, as
Mhm.
well as USC when you transferred,
Sure.
right? I'm sure it was not an easy
So
path for you. And
yeah, of
if
course.
you can mention, how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. So when I was in Japan, of course, there's like a, education for English, but that's more of the reading and writing. So I didn't have many chances to just speak or, listen. So when I came to the United States in 2006, I actually couldn't speak English much, couldn't understand what people were saying, or couldn't actually even read much.
Mm.
So the first like few semesters are very challenging because every class was more like a listening class to me. In addition to the subjects that I was taking, like even like
Mm.
statistics. It's a statistics class, but still it was like a listening class to me. So it was so hard for me to just follow up with what professor had said. So I had to like read textbooks quite a lot more than I would probably do now. But now, so it was a challenge. But at Santa Monica College, I had opportunity to work for international counseling office, and
Okay.
through that job, I had to actually speak English. I had to, understand what international students say. So that helped me a lot. And then after transfer to USC, I joined AKSI, which is a business fraternity. So through that organization, I had a chance to, just socialize, communicate, network with a bunch of non-Japanese people. So I had to speak English, but not just the language, right? So also the culture, like all those differences, I was able to understand, and I was able to like start applying that, like more the cultures, like phrases, the use of the words. So through the college, I think the networking helped me a lot.
Yeah, that's one thing I remembered about you because I
Mm-hmm.
know some Asian students when they Asian international students when they first come to the United States, there's a level of discomfort, especially with the language barrier. So they only hang out with people who speak their own language.
Right.
But what I found, I remember when you took my on ground class, what I found very refreshing about you was that you made an effort to become friends with all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
people,
Yeah.
non-Japanese, non-Asian students in the classroom. So I'm glad that you did the same thing at USC, where you mentioned the
Mm-hmm.
key, right? The key to success is to network with other people of diverse backgrounds,
Yep.
and in a sense, it helped you overcome a lot of challenges
Right.
at both the community college and at the college level. So
Yeah.
wonderful,
But I
wonderful,
mean, don't get me wrong. It's very intimidating to like just talk to like random people.
right?
But you get something out of it for sure. So just try to. I don't know. It was not easy.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing that advice with students. So my
Yep.
next question is,
Mm-hmm.
after you finished college, you worked, as I mentioned earlier, for the global CPA firm Ernst and Young
Yep.
in their assurance services
Mm-hmm.
practice. Can you tell my students a little bit more about what assurance is? Just keep in mind, they might not even know what auditing is. So if you can talk a little bit about the
Okay.
assurance practice, and then also tell my students what is a typical day like for you as a senior manager, because I think there's a stereotype. A lot of people think that accountants are people who sit in a basement with a big calculator crunching numbers with no people skills, no interaction.
Mm,
But what you told me in the past, that's not your lifestyle, right? You're constantly
not
working
at
with
all.
people, you're going traveling. So
Right.
yeah, if you don't mind, again, sharing us with my students about the assurance practice, and then about your typical daily duties.
Okay. So assurance is basically, so EY or the big four accounting firms provide assurance services. And assurance services, the main service is audit, but we also, support like accounting, bookkeeping, or like review procedures, all that. But the main core service is audit. And what audit is that, so every company has their own financial book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if no one tests, no one, checks the financial book, they can basically manipulate whatever and, do the false reporting, right? So someone has to check, someone outside the company has to check, which is us. So auditors basically visit client and, inspect their financial records through the various ways to test and check if all the financial records like balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, those are not materially misstated. That's the audit. And the typical day for senior manager at EY is basically starting with the visit to client. So client can be anywhere. My situation right now, I have client in Santa Ana, client in Beverly Hills, client in Torrance, Van Nuys, like everywhere. So commute isn't that easy, but we go to the client and normally with team members, especially, since I'm a senior manager, I go there with someone because, we work as a team. And the typical role for a senior manager when the senior manager visits client side is to basically meet with client, like, controller, treasurer, or CFO if necessary, to discuss, whatever the issues, matters that we need to go through for the audit. Typically, there are always some disagreements in terms of like how you record, some transactions. So we just discuss with them and then try to figure out how we can resolve those issues. And also, we work on like budgeting and we all go on like, reporting. And the reporting phase is going to be very intense normally. And that's towards the end of the goal of the audit.
So I just have one last question.
Sure.
You've achieved a lot of success in life. And again, you did it from a non-traditional student background, right? You weren't someone who went to college right after you finished high school. You did something you've always had a passion for. You did your music first.
Yeah.
But then you had to come to the United States and struggle first through with the languages. But ultimately, you graduated from USC, which is one of the top accounting programs in the United States. And now you're working at Ernst and Young. You've been there for a very long time. Senior manager. I think the next level is partner. So again, congratulations. So having achieved so much success, can you please share with my students what advice can you give them to be successful in the accounting profession?
Okay.
And also just in general, how do you become successful in life? I think if they can take something away from today's talk, that would be something that really benefit them.
Yeah, sure. So I think there are two things that enabled me to basically succeed in my career. The first thing is networking. Again, as I said, it's intimidating to talk to random people, but you never know what you can get from people you talk to. Like for me, I still learn a lot from like Uber drivers when I use Uber, or like anyone. But like at the same time, you should be mindful as to like what you want to do in like near future or in the long run. So actually, when I was in USC, at the AKSI fraternity, I was told to like write up some goals for next year, 3 years, and 5 years. And actually, I took that very seriously. And then I actually wrote it down. The first year, I wrote get internship, which I did. In 3 years, I wrote, get a CPA, which I did. And in 5 years, I'd be successful in EY, which I did again. If I didn't write them down, I don't know, if I had like that clear picture. But since I wrote it down and I'd be mindful of what I want to do for like next whatever years, I think that motivated me a lot and kind of pretty much like forced me to achieve that goal. And also networking, the reason why I was able to get an internship in New York, that was from networking with one of the, students at USC, how he got a job. And, full-time in New York, I actually had some, opportunities to do some other projects within EY that was through networking. And I was able to transfer to Los Angeles office because there was some networking too. So networking is really important because you never know what you can get out of it.
Well, great.
Yep.
Thank you so much for making the time to come speak with me today. I think, you have to go back to work now or spend time with your family. It's been so many years. I think you told me that you've now are married and have some kids. So congratulations to you there as well. So thank you so much for making the time to speak with my students today. And yeah, let's stay in touch, and we'll check up again together in a couple of years. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sure thing. Sure thing.
Okay.
It's my honor. Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay.
Night.
Bye bye.
Bye.